Hello, everyone. I am Violet Lee, your Tai Chi examiner. And I have been writing about Tai Chi and Qigong for the past 15 years and interview many uh, masters and experts. But today is very, very special for me because Sifu Larry Parker is in the studio with us. And Sifu Larry Parker has a very unusual journey, and his life is full of how should I say challenges. When he was 39, his eyesight in the left eye started going away, and then later on, his right eye also lost the sight. And at the age 64, he was totally blind. And however, throughout this whole time, he never stopped helping people. He never stopped learning. And he is a certified Tai Chi and Qigong instructor with Tai Chi Easy and Universal Healing Down. And so today I'm very excited and to speak with Sifu Larry Parker and to understand how he can, how should I say, master this courage and continues with his life's journey. Well, Sifu Larry Parker, say hi to everyone.
Greetings, everyone. Nice to be with you.
Well, I know at age 9, you made your mission, right, in life. You say you wanted to help people. It seems you have kept that promise all this time. And can you share a little bit this with us? What have you done? And I know you have been doing a lot of in the healthcare area and so forth. And you want to address that a little bit for us?
Sure, I'll sketch out as fast as possible. At age 9 years old, my mother used to work at West Side Hospital as a receptionist, and she had headaches, migraine headaches. So when she would come home from work, I would put my hands on her sides of her head, and I would channel energy to her and help her with her headaches. And at that time, my mother was a leader in the community. She's very civically minded, very civically active, and she worked with a lot of organizations, especially with women. And I was with her all the time, from the time I was like a little boy up until I was a teenager. I spent a great deal of time with my mother and also interacting uh, with the women's circle, not saying anything, but just being there and listening to learn. And I made it my life's purpose to be a woman's health advocate. So during after graduating from high school in 1968, Vietnam War was on, and I felt that I would like to be of service, but I did not want to fight. So I went to all of the recruiters and I talked with them. And when I got to the Coast Guard recruiter, the Coast Guard recruiter told me that the Coast Guard came under the Department of Transportation versus Department of Defense. And its mission was search and rescue and aids to navigation. Well, since I was a man of peace and my purpose was to be of service to aid in the balancing of this planet, I decided that I would like to join the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is a unique elite maritime service, very difficult to get in because they only have 34,000 men and women. So it's very small. So it's very selective, especially at that time. So I passed all the tests and I had an excellent record in high school and school and as a citizen of Rochester, New York, where I grew up. So I got high school recommendations from people and I got in the Coast Guard. And while I was in the Coast Guard, I decided to become a dental technician and also cross-trained as a paramedic. So during the 4 years active, I worked as a dental technician, uh, paramedic. I also drove ambulances, and I worked on duty nights in the clinic, seeing to people with toothaches or if they were sick or something like that. So I did that for 4 years active, and after I got out of the service, I did 3 years active reserve. So after getting out of the Coast Guard, I went to school, became a registered dental hygienist. I became the first Black male registered dental hygienist ever to be licensed in this country. So I made history that way. And then I went on to State University of New York and got my bachelor's degree in health education and community health. In 1984, I came to New York City to work at Harlem Hospital in the Department of General Dentistry as a health educator and clinical dental hygienist. And I worked there. And in 1987, I started to lose the vision out of my left eye. But I'll backtrack a little bit. In 1985, 86, I went to school at the Swedish Institute and became a licensed massage therapist and received certifications as a sports massage therapist, as well as a continuing education instructor teaching chair massage and the 21st century protocol for stress fitness at the Institute. Um, Again, in 1987, I woke up one day and my eyesight of my left eye left me. And then years later, in 2008, I started to lose the eyesight out of my left eye. And at that time, I was speaking professionally as a transformational speaker, trained with the National Metro chapter of the Metro National Speakers Association. And I decided to shut down my practice as a clinical dental hygienist and also as a massage therapist and also professional speaker to concentrate on finding out what happened to my eyes.
I
And
see.
just recently, I found out with the last couple of years, I lost my eyesight while handling mercury while I was in the Coast Guard. It poisoned my system, and that's what took my eyesight.
Wow. Well, so um, how does that affect you? Losing eyesight, for you mentally, emotionally, and psychologically, and how would you describe that? And can you share, your emotions with us? And
Absolutely. Each one of us that is a sentient being that incarnated onto this earth, we're multidimensional. We're mental, we're psychological, we're emotional, we're astral, we're etheric, we're physical. And when you lose your eyesight, it is a multidimensional trauma. So it's a mental trauma, it's psychological, it's psychosocial because you have to interact with people and you have to learn how to do everything over. And people view you differently. Uh, it's spiritual, it's energetic, it's it's your whole neurology has to change. Your brain function, your central and peripheral and somatic nervous system have to be rewired. It's you go through almost an automatic neuroplasticity. But one thing I want to point out: most people think that when you lose your eyesight, your senses, your kinesthetic sense, your proprioception, your sense of balance, that is, your interoception, all of that is heightened. That's not true. It has to be trained assiduously with great care and discipline. So I spent at least the next 10 years learning how to be blind. I had to learn Braille. I had to learn how to use electronic devices. I had to learn how to do everything. I had to learn how to walk with a cane. I had to learn how to write. I had to learn how to do everything.
wow.
So it
Mhm.
was a very difficult, terrifying experience. But the one thing that helped me on that transcendent process was the fact that I spent many, many years studying the healing arts, specifically the internal arts of different forms of meditation, different forms of healing, different systems of healing. I covered Native American, Tibetan, African, uh, TCM. I looked at everything. I looked at food. I looked in terms of food, integrative nutrition, diet, uh, all types of things, and metaphysics, the occult, everything, anything happened to dealing with the human experience. I studied biofeedback. I studied so many different disciplines, Tai Chi and Qigong. Now, this was way back in the early 70s. This was before a lot of the things that we have here now, integrative medicine, alternative functional medicine, that wasn't even heard of at the time. And of course, there were no computers. So I had to dig. I had to read a lot. I had to study. So I spent many years in silence, in assiduous training and study and research on different forms of medicine, healing, and health and wellness. And that helped me a great deal when I lost my eyesight. And
And yes, I understand. Well, actually, for everyone who's watching this video, and this is the third time we tried to do this interview, and because there's some technical issue, and Larry right now is in the Lighthouse organization in New York City, right? And then for some reason, the computer wasn't working well, and the last. So finally, Larry said, "How about using my cell phone and to do this interview?" And I saw you kept moving your hands. Is that you're trying to communicate with your cell phone by hand gesture? Is that right?
no,
Oh,
um,
no,
I was
it
moving.
wasn't. I saw sometimes you have a three fingers, sometimes you have whatever, and then you kept moving. So that wasn't trying to give a command to the cell phone. It's
Oh,
not.
oh yes. Oh, the cell phone. Oh, yes. Blind people use the cell phone. We use gestures. There's about 70 some gestures that we
Oh my
use.
God,
And
70
we
some.
use, yeah, but mostly it's usually about four, uh, about 7 or 8 that we use. And we use voiceover. So we we use our fingers. We tap the screen. If we want to go forward, we flick this way. If we want to go backward, we go the opposite way. If we put 3 fingers up, that opens up something. If we go 2 fingers down, that allows the voice to continue reading. If we turn our hands like this, that is that turns a dial, and that uh, taps into something else. If we double tap with our fingers, we can move from one screen to another. If we triple tap with 3 fingers, we shut the voice on. If we double tap with 2 fingers, it's it stops the voice. So there's a lot of gestures. That's what I was doing.
I see. Yeah, but for how should I say? Since still have my eyesight, and then I just say, wow, again, get me a little bit, understanding what you have to go through to use cell phone. And for us, maybe just 1 or 2 seconds, we got there right away. But you have to try all different ways, and just wow, life is not easy for you, right? And then so you mentioned a little bit about us, how um, the losing the eyesight impact you in many different ways, and you mentioned psycho social also, right? And the
Right.
relationship and everything is different. And then you also mentioned about energetic. And then, so energetically, how does that affect you? It's well, I think you have a little bit of probably advantage because you started Tai Chi Chuan um, back when a lot of people don't even know that, right? So you have some experience with the energy field. So
Well,
and once you you start losing the sight, and now it's completely. And so energetically, how does that affect you? And then how do you deal with that? And how do you make adjustment?
how can I put this? Energy, everything is energy. Everything is energy.
Mhm.
And because we are mental, the universe is mental. Everything is mental and it's energy. So because of my background and training, again, in metaphysics and the occult, learning different systems, I had to learn the universal laws that govern the universe. Everyone uses these laws on a daily basis, but in order to navigate them on a conscious level, you have to know what the laws are. What are those laws? The law of attraction, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effect, the law of the divine masculine and feminine, the law of correspondence. All these laws are interactive and integrative. In other words, they touch each other and they work with each other across all planes, spheres, realms, and dimensions. And because we are energy, it's up to each one of us to decide in every moment how we want to use our energy for good, for bad. What are you going to do with your energy? You must decide. So how I decided to navigate, as I said, I came here to be of service and I knew these laws. So it's about virtues. The virtues are humanity first, civility, respect, kindness, fairness, truth, and honesty, and also patience. And those are the virtues that I live by. And I learned earlier on to see every person, no matter what container they were in, right? What gender they are, what age they are, to see them as my brother or sister, because we're all integrated. We all are connected. We're one. People talk about this, that, and the other isms, but there's only one human race. And when you see people as you see yourself, and you treat people as you treat yourself, know thyself and know the world. So if you know yourself and you know what you have gone through, then you know someone else. And so the whole purpose of us being here is to make this a better planet. And the most powerful instrument in the universe is a clear and focused mind. The most powerful force, the only power is love. Love is the beginning, love is the continuation, love is the ending, never ending, ongoing, and continuous, like the flow of life. Omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, everywhere, all the time, all at once, is light. From light we came, light we are, light we shall return. But it must be our choice to live consciously as a guiding light or a beacon of light, energy, light energy. And when you're at that, um, when you make a decision to travel in that light, you're on a certain frequency or vibration where you resonate with those of a like mind. And I think with all the things that are happening on this planet at this time, those of us who know that we have to connect on an energetic level in meditation, in prayer. You know, at this time, we're going through the last couple of weeks of Ramadan where people all over the world who are Muslim, they happen to be praying. And also, this month is Lent. So you have the Christians that are praying as well. And so this is a very powerful time for light to come in and consciousness to make this a better planet. So we have the opportunity to change, but it must be uh, everyone has to be on the same page or in coherence. So it from what Maharishi Mahesh Yogi says, it takes less than 1% of each person to bring the light in to create the critical mass so we can change the energetic on this planet.
Very, very profound, very, very nice. And well, so can you talk a little bit about uh, your learning of the how should I say, how to become a Tai Chi instructor, Tai Chi and Qigong instructor. And I know that you were doing that is after you were completely blind, right? It's 2019, 18, 19, and you were learning to become the instructor, and but you lost your sight completely when you it was in 2012. So can you share with us your experience and how 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 did it go? And
Oh, that's a very interesting question for a very interesting story. When I started to lose my eyesight, well, let me go backtrack. I started doing Tai Chi and Chi Kong back in Rochester, New York, my hometown, back in 1973. And of course, at that time, we I purchased the book, Professor Chen Men Ching's book, The Supreme Ultimate. So I taught myself the form, and it was interesting, and I learned a lot. And I'll backtrack a little bit more. How I got into Taoism in 1973 as well. I took a job with Eastman Dental Center in Rochester as a community health educator, working in the school system, inspecting children's teeth, and also doing dental health education programs. And my first supervisor, her name was Margaret Stickle. On the very first day that I met her, she gave me a book on Taoism by a Taoist writer named Lin Yu Tang. A book. The name of the book was The Importance of Living, and I also received a book on a small treatise on the I Ching. And the first hexagram that I read was Lao Tzu's hexagram on the journey of 1,000 li commenced with a single step. And to this day, that is one of my favorite hexagrams, as well as hexagram number 9, wind over heaven. In other words, the smallest wind will make a hurricane in the universe if with persistence and care and discipline and with love. And so when you look at those two opposite polarities, I knew that uh, as I journeyed and I started to lose my eyesight, I knew what my purpose was, why I came here. And then in 2018, I decided to take a class at the Open Center in New York with Dr. Raja Yanka. He had a workshop that would give a certification in medical Qigong practice leader, as a practice leader. And so after, it was a 5 or 6 day workshop. So after the workshop, uh, he and I had a conversation. He told me to continue on with Taoism. So I then uh, looked up on the internet. A friend of mine, my research partner and reader, Natalie Danforth, and we came across Sharon Smith. So I had looked around at other places to learn Tai Chi, and I took a couple classes. One before that, years before, I took studied with Master Adu Musa Weir for about 7 or 8 months. And then I decided to go out on my own. And then again in 2018, I connected with Sharon and we called her on the phone. Natalie looked at her website and thought it was excellent and she felt good about it. So we called Sharon and Sharon was excited to have me. And it was the best reception I had because a lot of people did not want to train me. So when I took Sharon's 13 movement Tai Chi Chi Kung class, I took 12 weeks of it, but I never told her what I did. I just took her class because I believe when I take a class, I come with my 4-year-old Larry. In other words, I come empty to learn. So I didn't think it was necessary for me to say anything about myself. I just came quietly, took the class. And at some point, she approached me and said, "Did I ask me if I wanted to be an instructor?" And I said, "Well, I'd have to think about it." And one day, we were partying. I said to her, "Travel in harmony." So she asked me. She said, "What does that mean?" I said, "Well, travel in harmony with the whole universe. With your heart, with your mind, your heart mind, your yi." And so, so I started taking classes with Sharon, and I became an associate instructor. I forget the dates. It was like
Yes, okay.
21 or something like that. I became an associate instructor first, and then I went on to become a full instructor. And then I also, in 2020, I took a class with senior instructor David Lehman, who was teaching Tai Chi Easy with the Hudson Valley Veterans Administration Hospital. So that was a Zoom class. And I called him up and I let him know that I was interested in taking this Tai Chi Easy class. And he said that would be fine.
So
And
yeah, sorry, Larry, for interrupting you. You say it was a Zoom class, and you
yes,
were taking a Zoom class, but you
yes,
could not see.
but I can listen. And see, that's that, that, that that's what I'm getting at. And thanks for asking me that. You see, all words are neurochemicals, and the chemicals will, once you hear a word, it creates an image in your mind. And because I was sighted, and because I had Tai Chi before, and because I was so adept at study, and I had studied hours and hours of anatomy, physiology, I've taken dance classes, dance movement. It was very easy for me to actually just listen to the sound of someone's voice. As long as they spoke with description, I could get an image in my mind, so it was no problem. That's how I learned to become a universal healing Tao instructor. Everybody else was able to go on the computer, look at all the charts, and read. I couldn't do that. I had to do everything mentally. And
Wow.
so
Mhm.
everything that all the other instructors did when they can go on the computer and look at all these charts, I couldn't do that. I had to visualize what the words meant and then create an image in my visual cortex or vision center of my brain and then transduce it. In other words, it had to go around through a cycle, and then I would see the vision or the movement in my mind.
So did the instructor provide feedback? Did they look at how you do it? So because a lot of time we may think it's this way, but it's not exact um, that way.
Well, in the live classes with Sharon, she would give me, some feedback, small adjustments here and there, as she would any other student. So no more than that. But because of
I
my
see.
experience, I had an understanding. And not only that, um, Tai Chi, the benefit of Tai Chi is that it exercises every part of the body. Everything is moving. And
That's right.
and
Uh-huh.
it's the movement is most people see the external, but the real movement is internal. And so for me, that was easy to interocept. In other words, when I'm doing the movement, so the movement may start out in the feet and it goes up through the legs and through the hips and it trans goes through the extends itself through the arms and expresses itself through the hand. That's just one. That's a gesture, right? But the
Mhm.
eyes are moving, the shoulders, the hips are moving, and they're all moving. Uh, how can I say yin and yang, substantial and insubstantial. So there is a wave-like movement to everything. So everything is moving internally. Most people see the external smooth movements, but there's a lot of internal movement that's going on. And so
Well, you
as
said
a
it very well. Very, very good. Yeah. Thank you for enlightening us on that. Mhm.
yeah, so that's how I actually do it. So to me, it's about the imagination. And so that's how I walk as a blind person. So I use echolocation, sound. I use all of my senses. So I'm actually interacting with the environment, very much like Tai Chi. You know, you're a part of the whole. You become connected, but you have to be connect in consciousness. So it has to be, you have to immerse yourself in the experience of the now. See,
Uh-huh.
you're not in psychological time. Most people who are sighted or who are new to, say, for instance, learning Tai Chi, they're looking at the teacher's movements outside and they're trying to mimic the movement outside. But the movement that's coming from the teacher is not the outside movement, it's the inner transmission of the teacher that they're trying to convey to the students with an external movement.
Wow, that's really, really deep, really profound. It would be great if one of these days you can come to my class and then share that with my students and let them feel that. That's great. And well, I saw the video of Daniel Kisk. He's doing that echolocation, right? I think you're in the video with him. Is that right? Or you don't know? There's a.
I did. I think I didn't train with Daniel Kish. I trained with Brian Bushway. They were
Oh, I
partners.
see. I
So I
see.
went to
Okay.
California and I studied echolocation with him, but I also
Uh-huh.
studied here. I'm trained in many different disciplines around blindness. There's regular orientation and mobility. And remember, that's how Tai Chi. Now, if we were to put echolocation, Tai Chi, and orientation mobility, we put them, connect all three of them. Like when I walk, it's like walking, doing Tai Chi walking. I'm making connection with the ground, with the
Uh-huh.
surface,
Hmm.
with gravity, right? But I'm not just, my feet are sensitive because I train them to be sensitive because most people don't know your hands and your feet have pretty much the same dexterity. The only difference
Hmm.
is the thumb and the big toe. With the thumb you can grab things, but you can also do that with the toe in a different way. But when you're walking, you're using the bottoms of your feet to sense the ground. In other words, not only the topography or the bumps and ups and downs, but the vibrations. And if you can hear, like the Native Americans used to, if you put your ear to the ground, you can hear things from a long distance. But so when we're using the cane, we tap the cane, and the vibrations from the cane comes up, and it gives us a shadow vision. So walking with our feet gives us the same thing. So we're using it's a multi-sensory experience of kinesthetics. So I want to point out something about kinesthetics. So most people think kinesthetics is how you move in time and space, but the movement is internal. And what is activated are the ligaments and the tendons, as well as the muscles. And for example, most Western people in the West, they go to the gym and they work on the muscles. They pump the muscles up, right? And they try to get strong with big biceps and big shoulders and everything like that. But you see other people, especially in China and Asia and also Africa, that do things with their whole body. It's a whole body experience. And they're working on the ligaments, the tendons, and their structure, their posture, and they're connected deeply to the earth. And the earth energy comes up and it helps to that it's a connection on so many levels. So there's that the it's all psychophysical. Like when you send a message from your mind to your Dan Chen, that's psychophysical. So you can send messages, and then those messages can be brought to enhance the flow of the not only the blood, the chi, the lymph, or whatever, a healing. And so that's how that's done. You're connecting with all that through all of your hands, your feet, your mind, your heart, your spirit. And so when you look at your three danchens, like your gut, your interocepts. So when you're going inside, what does this feel like when you're inside yourself, self-sensing? And is there emotion tact? Is there an emotion attached to it? Is there a color attached to it? And then when you go into your heart mind, what does your
Mhm.
heart say about this? What does your observing Dantian, what do you see up here? And so when you connect all those three are in alignment energetically, you and you set your intention to do or create a certain thing. So you have a vision. What do I want to create? So you project a vision. What do you see? What do you want to create? So you create the vision in your mind. You project it in the universe, and you with your alignment with your heart mind, your lower dantian, your elixir field, your observing mind. But then you have to learn to connect and listen to the one voice that connects you to the all, the absolute, the infinite, and it brings you into the moment because our life is in the moment. Most people live their life from the history, right, into projecting into the future that's not here. But when you learn to be present, and that's what Tai Chi is all about. In order to do Tai Chi or Qigong, you have to be present. You have to be in the moment because you're active. Everything, all the senses, the microsystems are turned down within the movements.
Well, this is so well said. And, Larry, every time I talk to you, I feel like I learn so much from you. And this is great. You really, really internalize the art. It's not, and so many people, they practice uh, uh, Tai Chi or Qigong, but they only have the motion and outside, and then there's nothing really connected. And then, but you articulate so well, and I really, really appreciate and this kind of teaching, and it's great. Well, thank you so much. So when you actually teach students, and now you're are you teaching just people with vision impaired, or you teach both? And so who you are teaching?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, most of the people that I teach have taught are sighted, but my programs, how can I put this? Tai Chi and Qigong, especially Tai Chi Easy, is a way to connect with their multidimensional self, and that's how I teach it. So I will start a class. I start with an icebreaker, right? After the introduction, I start with the icebreaker, usually with a guided imagery. And I'll ask each one of them to close their eyes and take a couple long, slow, deep breaths and to start to connect. And I'll ask them to just get a sense of what they feel like. I'll ask them to um, um, be aware of the north, the south, the east, the west, the living earth beneath their feet and the heavens above, and bring themselves back into center. And then I'll take them on a guided imagery, and then from there we'll go through and I'll ask around the class, how do they feel? So I gently guide them into themselves to learn to reconnect with themselves. And then from there, we go into maybe a light breathing practice to so they can experience calmness and tranquility. I ask them what they see. So it's more of a stress management sort of integrative approach to actually teaching Tai Chi and Qigong. It's not just teaching the movement, it's like giving them the tool. And one of the things I've always said over the years that I've been teaching and consulting and training and doing things, and I've worked with people from all over the world, work in corporations, doing team building, and worked at colleges and different places like that, and coaching and consulting is this. My job is not to be a teacher in that sense or the healer. They're the healer. When I have someone on my table and in my chair and I'm doing massage or manipulating the body, that's the body in the stage is only that's only a stage. The energy that I bring myself to an open state, right? And uh, since there's no deficiency ever in the universe, maybe stagnation and deficiency within the person. But when I put my hands on them, the techniques come out of whatever the person wants to happen. So if I'm doing reflexology, zone therapy, Swedish massage, um, Suina, or train, counter strain, or whatever technique that I'm using, reflexology, whatever, it comes out of what the person wants. So the most important thing for me is to facilitate the process of each of the participants. And I don't call them students because I'm a student myself always. I never think that I'm anything other than a student. So I share the tips, the tools, the techniques, and the strategies that come out of many years of deep assiduous training and deep meditation and contemplation so that they can unfold unto themselves in their own time, in their own way, in their own space. And I ask them
Wow.
further not to believe anything that I said. And then I ask them why I'm asking them that, why I'm asking them that. And they, of course, what I want to hear is that they have to find out for themselves by setting their intention. And once you set your intention, you send off a wave of energy into the universe that by the law of correspondence, there's those laws of the universe again that will bring back that which you happen as above, so below, but ask and you shall receive. So that's the law of correspondence. That's the law. So meditation is when you listen for the answer to come back in meditation. A prayer is when you send out the energy, the signal that creates a wave or a wave, and that wave comes back in the support that you needed. But in order to receive that which you asked for in the prayer, you have to sit back and listen. But the Native Americans say the longest journey that any of us will ever take was from the head to the heart. And that's where the Dantians come back. Remember I said earlier, the
Mm-hmm.
alignment with the Dantian, first you have to be able to open up the heart mind. Then the heart mind must be in alignment with the lower Dantian, and then those align with the observation, and then the doors of perception will open to you once the heart is open. But the heart must be open for the information to come through.
Wow, that's really, really, really profound. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And can I ask you maybe some really stupid question? And do you consider yourself a victim, or do you consider yourself, you know, somebody had a unique experience in life and I know that may sound stupid.
You know what? Violet, that's a great question. The truth of the matter is, if I have to say, after I
Honestly,
lo- no, no, seriously, honestly, after I lost my eyesight, of course, it was terrifying initially. It scared me. I had panic attacks. I had anxiety and all of that for a little while. But I realized that spirit had given me the greatest gift it had ever given me because I see more now than I ever could have seen when I had my eyesight because I learned to see from within, right? but it took a lot of training, a lot of practice, many, many years of deep, deep meditation in the darkness. And this was before I lost my eyesight. But when I lost my eyesight, I had to go very, very deep and all levels, and I had to be wide open, and I had to use the wisdom of a child. And so I went back consciously into my 4-year-old child's experience to be wide open, to put myself in a deep, deep state of openness and
Uh-huh.
surrender. I had to surrender. And it's during that time of being open and surrender that the doors of perception started to open. And I had a conversation with Dr. Roberto Kaplan, who is a behavior optometrist who wrote a book called The Power Behind Your Sight. And I called him up around 2010 and had a discussion with him about vision. And he reminded me that 95% of your vision is in your mind. It's
Whoa,
not in the
90.
optic nerve. It's in your mind. It's consciousness.
Wow.
Your vision is conscious. So that's why they say those who have sight have no vision. And so when you were saying that your students a lot of times, or people who learning Tai Chi, for example, or people who practice Tai Chi or Qigong, they only practice it, when they're in a class or maybe when they're in that during that time. But I don't live that. I live the Tao is now, so I live in the Tao. I live every moment in the Tao, the great possibility, the void, the Wu Chi. I live that way. I make it a practice to be empty. But in the emptiness, there's everything.
Actually, some of my students, I will, demonstrate and say this again and again. But you see, everybody's doing differently. So even though they see me, but they don't see me, right?
Right.
Some people see it very well, but some people, I guess, because their mind is occupied by something else. I could see from their eyes, and sometimes, I understand everybody has busy life, have different priorities, and not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying is even though they see it, they don't see it. That's
Right. Right.
very
Because
frequent.
and that's because I think that's the handicap that sighted people have in one sense, because their experience is external, okay,
Mhm.
and you have to consciously live internally in order to get it. So you have to once, for an example, if you are out in nature, just for an example, and you're quiet, you'll learn to listen and you'll hear things that will open the doors of perception to something that you never saw before, because everybody's going so fast. They have to stop and be quiet and be silent and then become still. It's only in that stillness. Now,
Mhm.
most people think, oh, I have to sit down and go in the lotus. Nope. Stillness, you can be still when you're walking or riding a bicycle or doing Tai Chi or Qigong. It's a way of setting your intention to go into the void, into the Wu Chi, into the emptiness. And the
Mhm.
emptiness is when you clear your mind, when you have no anticipation, no expectation, no contemplation, no concentration, no focus. You're completely wide open. And then you begin to see.
Excellent, excellent. You know what? I really enjoyed listening to you. Like I say, I'm student of you now, and I'm learning every time I, I I speak with you, and we can just keep going on and on. But unfortunately, and we're kind of running out of time. I wish,
We are.
down the road we will have opportunity to reconnect and let me be your student again. And I really appreciate and thank you for the time you spent with us today. And
Well, thank you, Violet. I have a request from you. I'd like to be your student because what you might find, no, seriously, what you might find if you start to train me, you will how can I say you'll learn because we're a mirror? In other words, you'll look in the mirror of my soul and you'll reflect your own image, and then you'll understand truly what it is to be blind.
Well,
That's an
I live in Las Vegas, and next time when I visit New York, I really want to meet up with you and to take lessons from you, and then we can exchange, and I think it probably can teach me a lot how to using words properly, to explain things more clearly, and then for people like you, and then I think that probably will require me to go inside also, right? Because we cannot teach people well if we don't go inside ourselves, and then so yeah, give me a few months. I will go find you, and then we exchange and see how that goes. How about
okay.
that?
I can come to Las Vegas too. We'll make it happen. As you said, you
Yes,
can't give something
definitely. Mhm.
you can't give something to someone that you don't possess. You must possess it first. So you have all of that, Violet.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. I hope that the people
we,
that
we,
were
we,
watching
we
this.
will definitely meet up, and then everyone, and if you're watching this and if you have questions for myself and for Sifu Parker, and I guess you can drop down the notes underneath this video on YouTube, or you can and post it on my website, and which is violentlytaichi.com, and I will write an article about this interview, and then you can post questions there. And again, and thank you so much, Sifu Parker.
Okay.
All respect for you. Yes,
Oh,
really.
respect. Okay. I'll
Yes,
see you
respect.
again.
That's for sure.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, thank you so much.